There you go.
Where are we? Oh, we're in China.
Yeah, sorry, I moved you all around.
That's all right.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm here today with Josh. He's going to tell us all about Europa and why he likes it and all the kinds of how to play it and all that kind of stuff. You can say hi to people if you want to.
Hello, everybody. I make no promises on teaching how to play very well because there's too much here to cover. Hey.
Fair enough.
But this is Europa Universalis 4. It's a grand strategy, historical, political kind of game. A little bit like Civilization, but more complicated and more based on realism, or attempting to be. So this is, I've loaded my save file here, so this is what the world looks like in my alternative history version of 1545. I started in 1444 as Byzantium. And I will confess that I cheated a little bit to give myself a fighting chance because I'm a wimp, and Byzantium is actually one of the hardest countries to start as.
So how did you cheat? I'm curious.
There's console commands.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Just blatant cheating. But I'm playing by myself against the computer, and the point of the game is to have fun, so who cares?
Yeah.
As of this point in the game, I have not only beaten back the Ottomans, but I've completely swallowed them. They're gone. I just finished a war against the Mamluks to take back more of ancient Byzantium territory, and then my dumb ally Croatia decided to pick a fight with the entire Holy Roman Empire because they wanted to take Austrian territory. Austrian's the bright green one here. And they dragged me into it. And to my surprise, it's been going much, much better than I expected. As of last night, I was basically just stomping Austrian troops left, right, and center. So basic layout of the game is you just have all sorts of data up top. You have your money, you have your manpower, which is just how many troops you can summon, how stable your government is, how well regarded your government is in the eyes of the world. I'm a republic. This keeps track of just how highly Republican ideals are held in my country, and power projection is basically how much I can bully other people. And then these are like specialists you can have, like merchants, colonists, which I don't have any of, diplomats and missionaries. These are all my little notices, which I'm already aware of all these. One of my advisors died. So I'm just going to dismiss them. And the other super important thing is you accrue monarch points, they call them, in one of these three categories. When you use these, there's administrative, diplomatic, and military. And you use them to do everything from like bartering for better peace deals, or upgrading technologies, or hiring generals, or things like that. So I'm going to switch to the political map view so we can see what's going on. So I'm playing as Byzantium, and my icon is this red shield with a yellow cross on it, so you can see all these troops that have that same icon are mine. In this political map mode, every country is just in different colors, so you can kind of see where the territories are. I should say I'm playing with some mods that make the graphics a little bit easier to see and alter the gameplay slightly. So I am at the behest of Croatia at war with Austria, the papacy, and most of the rest of the Holy Roman Empire. And with me are my allies. So this is the war screen. These are the belligerents. It's me and then my two allies, Bohemia and Croatia. And this is everybody we're fighting. And Austria is the primary. It's basically Croatia and Austria. Austria is not happy. So I'm actually kind of at a crossroads where I have the option of making a separate peace with Austria and just leaving Croatia. Because I have other things to do. Or I could just keep going because I have Austria. So I can move troops around right now. The territory with the stripes on it means that it's already been successfully sieged. These random events that happen a lot. I feel like 80% of them are really bad things that happen here, and you just have to like pick which of the horrible things are going to happen.
So it gives you some, tells you where probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, so this is the background story. Usually this doesn't matter, though sometimes it actually does. And then it has very extensive tooltips. So if you hover over the options, it'll tell you what it does. Like this top one, church influence goes up by 5 points. And national unrest also goes up by 0.5, and I have a chance of vote. That's not too bad.
If I can grab the mouse for a second, someone's telling us that the game is too loud. The mic is at full volume, but I can turn down the games. I'm sorry, this is going to mess with the stream a bit.
It's no problem to me.
Alright, we're back. I pointed to the crazy.
Okay, I think we're in the Mid-Atlantic somewhere.
If you can let me know how that sounds, I can mess with it again. Thanks.
I think I'll take the option that does not have a chance of it. Just do that, and then I will have whatever effects that was going on in my country for the future. So I'm besieging Austrian territory. Depending on the goal of the war, there's this war score down here. I'm currently at 41%, and the higher the percentage, basically the more bargaining power you have with the people you're fighting against. If you completely besiege their entire country, it usually hits 100, which is something I'm all about. Sure. So I'm going to pause, and basically the way the sieges work is you just park troops on a territory, and they will automatically besiege it. And there is a percentage chance each month or so, I forget exactly what the timing is, that the siege will be successful, or that another random event will happen within the siege and increase the percentage chance. Oh, okay, so one of these sieges, pause. Somewhere, where's this? Striermark. Where's Striermark? Don't know. Oh, there. Alright, so this siege just successfully concluded. So I don't need my troops there anymore. I can move them somewhere else. So right now I'm trying to do what's called carpet sieging, which is where you send large numbers of little units to besiege an entire country at once, and then try to keep at least a couple big stacks of units. Like this is 20,000 troops of various types here. For when the AI is actually kind of good with hunter-seeker kind of algorithms, so if you have a bunch of little units, they will send big units around searching for those to crush them. So you need to keep some of those big units. This is I don't know what sparked this, but my stability modifier has gotten better. My people are happy because we have more money. Actually, that's a trick. So something I did caused that to happen. Yeah. So I don't know if it was a battle I didn't see end. Ooh, I lost. Let's find Han's block. Let's type correctly. Oh, see, there's nothing to see there. I had a little unit sieging up here, and they got crushed. So basically, it's not the prettiest game to look at, but it's kind of a deep game. I am trying to balance my army right now. I'm slowly losing manpower as my army is being constantly... More troops are coming in to fill the holes that are left by the so capture another city.
Is the goal to take over all of Europe?
It's more sandboxy than that. The goal is basically wherever you want it to be. I try to play as if it's real. Like, I try to pretend like it's not a game, so I try to act at least similarly to how I think I would act if I was actually the king of Byzantium. So, like, I don't just, like, I could crush Lithuania if I really wanted to, but I don't want to be mean for no reason.
Okay.
You do get, I can show you, this is the other main menu of the game. You have all of these different things that tell you how your government works, how your government is interacting with other governments. And there are missions you can take that basically they're like usually fairly short-range missions that you do this, we will give you points, or we will give you money, or you'll get something in reward. So like for this mission that I have, I upset Bosnia. So if I can increase their opinion of me to 100 points, which I'm currently not doing at all. So here, if we go to Bosnia, and go to diplomacy. So here's Bosnia is currently at +6. I need to have them at +100, so I can go to diplomacy, and I have tons of options for how to interact with Bosnia, and this will require me sending one of my 3 diplomats over here. So right now I want to improve relations, which basically involves a diplomat just going to Bosnia and sitting there, and over time Bosnia will think I'm nicer and nicer and nicer. And I will succeed at that mission if I get to 100, and then it'll give me 3 prestige, which is this little tick right here. So not the greatest. You can also spend your points to upgrade your technologies, which not only upgrade units, but they add lots of modifiers and other special abilities, and unlock ideas, which are kind of similar to technology, but you get to choose them a little more, and this is kind of how you can specialize your country. Because every few levels of administrative technology, you get to choose a new idea pool. So I chose quantity, I chose diplomatic, I chose humanist. And then within that pool, you can spend points to buy each individual idea within the pool. It'll give you bonuses like religious unity plus 25%, national unrest -2, which I could buy soon. And then if you fill up an entire idea, you get a bonus idea. Keep track of your country's stability, how tired we are of this war, which is not very because we're doing really well. General stability, which you can just pay administrative points to boost. You can see what kind of unrest I'm dealing with. So right now, there's a couple provinces down here that I just recently took from another country that used to be another independent country called Aden, and they want to be independent again. And every month, with their current level unrest, there's a 25% chance that this 40% will tick up by 10, and if it gets to 100, an actual revolt will start, and they will have lots of enemy troops suddenly that I will have to deal with.
Hey there, Scarab. Is the music still super loud? I don't know if things have exploded quite yet, but lots of war happening.
Yeah.
Can you mute the music in game?
Yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, I can
It's a little easier than we tried.
a sensible thing to do.
That was
Just turn it down like that. Oops. Skip.
awesome. Let us know if that's better.
Yeah. So, for the sake of just doing something interesting, I'm just going to end this war and make Croatia mad at me and see what happens. So here's the war screen again, and I'm going to go to make a peace. And I'm going to pause while this is happening so that my army doesn't get dismayed. So I have 26% war score, which is basically a currency for this diplomacy screen that I can spend. You can see, like, in this case, I'm asking for Austria to give me provinces, and each province has its own war score cost. I can either choose them out of the menu and they'll highlight on the map, or I can just click on them on the map. And I can only choose territory that I myself have successfully sieged. So the whole reason this war started was because Croatia wanted this province right here. So I'm curious what happens if I take it.
That's interesting.
So this, right now, it's every peace offer you give has a certain amount of points, and that's basically the higher the points are, the less likely the nation you're talking with is willing to accept it. So this shows you the breakdown of are they or are they not going to accept this current peace deal. And you can see all the variables that go into that. So right now this would give me 3.5 prestige, will not cost me any diplomatic points. It will give me 7 points of aggressive expansion, which basically means my reputation with surrounding involved nations will take a hit of 7 points, adjusted by some modifiers. And I will be overextended 28%, which basically means my country's actual size is beyond its ability to administrate itself. And if that gets over 100, basically your whole country goes up in revolt all at once, and it's a total nightmare.
So there's no chance involved here.
There's chance in the individual battles. I can actually show that real quick. So on the battle screen, there are actual literal dice rolls there. It shows a d6. It's actually a 10-sided battle. So battle, there's not a lot that I input to it, but it's actually very complicated. There's a lot of modifiers between the nation's discipline, their morale, which you can see here. Usually at this point in history, their morale will break before their troops are actually wiped out, and they'll just run. Military tactics, and these are the actual troop numbers of infantry, cavalry, artillery. Each province has a certain battlefield width where you can only fit so many troops fighting against each other at one time, and it'll automatically arrange, like it'll try to put infantry in the front, artillery in the back, and they will actively fire at each other. There's basically an entire mini war going on right here that it is calculating every little bit of. And you can have generals that'll affect your dice rolls, like this guy's general gets him +1 to his dice roll for this particular phase of the battle. He gets -2 because we're fighting in the mountains and he's on the offense. So this is the only randomness. Well, this and events pop up like the church politics a minute ago. But yeah, basically everything else is pretty straightforward and just based on math and your decisions.
That's cool though, because that little bit of randomness way down at the heart of it is going to make it so that it's not perfectly predictable, but
right,
you don't feel totally out of control either.
Right, usually. And there are times when the die goes from 0 to 9 instead of 1 to 10, and there are times when you will roll like 3 zeros in a row and your vastly superior army will get wiped out and there's nothing you can do about it. Right. Which I guess is historically, like, that can happen.
Sure.
We're going to see if we can squeeze any more money out of Austria while we're here. Sure, why not? Alright, so we're going to send this demand, and the game's paused and nothing's going to happen. You'll see my diplomat disappeared because he's on a mission. This is my, I forget what they call this, the outliner. It's basically just a kind of brief overview of everything that's going on. You can see all the sieges that I'm conducting, what my missionaries are doing in my home country, trying to achieve religious unity, what my 3 diplomats are up to, what my merchants are up to, where my armies are, yada yada yada. Oops, there's the world. Yeah. So actually this was all just suddenly revealed to me. I guess somebody I was allied to or somebody I was familiar with discovered India, and I got like 400 pop-ups saying that India is discovered on my heads. So alright, so Austria accepted my peace offer. So I gained that territory I asked for, I gained everything that little window said I would get. And
I wonder how Croatia feels about it.
Yeah, probably not good. So we'll see. Separate peace, minus 30 points. So they were fairly angry at me for that. But every year that penalty will be reduced by 1.7 because they'll forget that it ever happened. They want my province, which is not surprisingly because I took them when they were fighting for. I am curious if the war will continue now that I've literally hijacked the entire purpose of the war. The war started because Croatia wanted this province and now it's mine, so let it keep going. I also just got, Bosnia is apparently not too angry with me because they want to have a royal marriage between our peoples. Should give us all sorts of bonuses. It basically makes our nations closer together, and interesting things can happen with, what's the word? Not procession. Basically with the dynasties, like earlier in the game, Aragon approached me with an offer of a joint marriage, and then I accepted, and immediately afterwards their king died, presumably of natural causes, and he ceded the throne of Aragon to me. So Aragon is actually a junior partner in an alliance with me, and as soon as now that this war is over, actually I can try to do this. This is one reason I want to end the war. I had to wait 50 years of having this peaceful coexistence, and then if I can get them up to, why are they angry at me? Bad monarch, I don't even know what that means. If I can get their opinion of me up to 190, I can peacefully just absorb them into my nation, and I will suddenly have not only all of the Crimea and all of Turkey and all of Greece, but I will have the east coast of Iberia and Sardinia and Sicily and all sorts of other good stuff.
Huh.
So I want them to be happy with me.
Did you start this game with a particular goal in mind as Byzantium, or just, I want to start and just see what happens?
I basically wanted to start and see how history would look different if Byzantium didn't follow the Ottomans. And so this game is made by Paradox Software, I think it's just Paradox Software. And they apparently make a game similar to this for almost every era. And this game is basically just around the Age of Exploration and a little bit farther. It starts in 1444 and goes to 1820. So I can at least see what the world would look like potentially if Byzantium existed through the French Revolution and beyond. Now that the war is over, I should probably move my troops back out of Austrian territory. They wouldn't enjoy that.
Scarab's not buying the natural
No. In this particular game, there is no means of killing monarchs other than using cheat codes, which is not a cheat that I've used.
Huh.
Apparently, there's another game by the same company called Crusader Kings where you can actually like just pay money to, but auto saves every 6 months. You can pay to have people assassinated.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so here's an announcement that my improving relations with Bavaria can only go so far, and he's basically reached his cap, so I'm just going to call him home because there's no point. And Aragon is as happy with me as they will ever be, which sucks because I'm still 21 points short, so let's see if I can schmooze with them. Maybe I can... Nope, I need to wait for my diplomats to come home. Give me a second. So we'll let time advance. So it's literally going day by day through like 400 years of history.
Wow.
And you can speed that up.
Yeah, you can go really fast, which is not generally recommended. It makes the game look kind of glitchy. Alright, so all my diplomats should be home by now. So let's see if I can send them a gift to make them happy. So I can just bribe them. Nope, they're too wealthy. This is a really bad... And actually, that might be worth it. If I give them 200 ducats, which is the currency, I can improve their relationship with me by 22, which will put me just over 90, 190. And then you can't send diplomats rapid fire, so wait till March 25th of 1546. And we're going to see if we can just absorb them into my country. Let's see. It's going to take 22 years. Sure, why not?
But I mean, you are playing over like what, 400 years? So
Yeah.
It gives you
So-
time to sort of experiment.
Exactly. So here's
Yeah.
another, and the replay value. If you're into this kind of game at all, the replay value is really high because you can play as anybody. You can do basically anything.
Yeah.
Can
what
you
is
roll
this?
the clock back?
No, you can't roll the clock back. You can reset the timer using console commands, but it does just move forward. The only thing you control is you can stop time or you can speed it up, but you can't ever actually
go backwards
reverse it.
and redo things.
Other-
I think that's fair. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
and you can load old save games.
Sure.
Ooh, my stability goes up. That's really good. So another thing I should do that I forgot to do is this province that I took over is technically mine, but it's not a core of mine, which means it's still like outside the realm of my administration. So it's basically run badly and it's causing my empire stress. So I can pay administrative points and wait 27 months to make it a core, and then it'll be a part of Byzantium just as much as Constantinople itself is. And you can see I've got other troops. I've got my navy over here. I have a bunch of light ships who are improving my trade. You can look at the trade menu. Trade is also really complicated. It's made up of all of these nodes. You can see the arrows that basically show where the trade goes. Hooray, they're selling slaves. This is why I'm not friends with them. But you can see the different trade nodes. This first number is how much power, like influence I have in this trade node, and what percentage of the trade node's power that is, how much actual money is in it, and where the money is going. So right now I have a merchant in the Black Sea who is funneling like 74% of the money here straight to my capital where I can collect it. I have some trade ships working in Aleppo to try to pull a little bit of trade my way, but somebody else is actively pulling it towards Alexandria instead, which makes me unhappy. I'm collecting money in Venice, because I own Venice now. So this is another thing that a lot of wars and a lot of diplomatic wrangling can go back and forth over just trying to wrest control of these trade nodes, because this is usually at least a third of your income. You can see mine. Yeah, I get 20 ducats a month from taxes and 21 from trade. So that is a significant portion of my income. Oop. Missionaries just kind of work automatically. So I have 3 missionaries right now. I'll go to the religious window so you can see. There's tons of different world religions. They all have some small bonuses to them and some different play mechanics. This is actually a play mechanic from a different religion because I converted from Eastern Orthodox to Protestant, and I think that confused the game and it left the Eastern Orthodox slider here, even though Protestants aren't supposed to have that. May have been a result of the cheating I did earlier, I'm not really sure. But basically, I just want... Oh, hey! Venice just up and changed to Protestant for no reason. That's nice. I want as much religious unity as I can because it makes my tax collection more efficient and it makes revolts less likely. So I have 3 missionaries. Oh, nope, now I have 2 missionaries that I can send out to different provinces, and it'll show you what their original religion is, how long it'll take to convert them, and you basically just send them and forget them unless something else happens. But you can see, so this is the religious map mode. Solid colors mean that it's the same religion. The province has the same religion as the nation state, and the stripes mean that that province has a different religion that it's at the nation that it belongs to. Oh, surprise! Austria is the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire again. So you can see, like, Lithuania is probably kind of stressed because almost their entire country is Orthodox, but their state religion is Catholic. So they're probably not thrilled with that. And the game has several dozen these are all map modes. And I've at least once used almost every one of them. Unrest shows you, okay, here's the territories that are unhappy with me. If you click on them, it'll even tell you why. Okay, so these are the nationalists. This apparently used to be a separate nation right here that got absorbed some time ago, and they want to be a separate nation again. You can look at the economics map mode, which shows you how much, basically how wealthy every individual province is. All sorts of crazy stuff. How bad the winters are. It actually takes winter into effect when you're going to war. Your troops will just die. There's a flat attrition percentage where like 1 to 2% of your troops will just die every month.
It's cool.
Well, they do, yeah, if it's cold or if you're laying siege to something, they automatically do as well. You can see what kind of, there's also another part of the economy is each, the arrow keys are sticking sometimes. Each province produces a different trade good that is worth a different amount of money, and the value of the different trade goods fluctuates with time. Sometimes there's a glut of something, so the value drops, or vice versa. That's usually caused by random events. Political map mode is usually the most helpful. So I'm not sure. They're still at war with Austria. I'm not really sure what the point of the war is at this point. They're still fighting. So basically, yeah, there's not any particular overarching mission. The game is very sandboxy, though there are kind of long-term missions you can get where you have the missions up here, but you also have these national decisions you can make, and some of them are small things like seize church land, where it's kind of like the random events, only I get to choose for it to happen. Like, if I choose to do this thing, I'll gain money, the church will be unhappy, my tax modifier will go up, but my stability will go down. Right. But you can also get these, oh, there, I completed my mission with Bosnia, hooray. Okay, so you can choose one of 3 missions at any given time. Here's a somewhat larger one, which is, I will succeed in this mission if I control all 6 of those provinces, which is basically, all of Naples right here, and some of the middle of Italy. So if I choose that, it'll actually give me a casus belli, which is a legitimate reason for war to go against these provinces, to declare war on Naples. If you declare war without a good casus belli, you will get severely penalized for it. So if I go to the declare war menu, you can see I now have all these casus belli for conquesting these different territories, or I can just opt to have none. I could call allies in, they can call allies in. I don't actually want to do that right now. But there's also larger missions that are dependent on your country, such as restoring the Roman Empire. So if I control all of Byzantium and most of Italy, I will actually become Rome again. My name will change from Byzantium to Rome. I'll get all new missions, all new government options, all new weird stuff. So that is my longest term goal. My medium term goal is to Reestablish the theme system, which basically means restore Byzantium to what it used to be, which in this particular... Why am I not scrolling? There we go. I just need to take over most of the rest of Turkey, and that will count. And then that will give me all sorts of bonuses to... I think there's actually too many bonuses for it to adequately show me what would happen. Yeah, it doesn't fit on the screen, even with this high-resolution screen. But it renames all of these territories to their original Greek names, and I get all sorts of like economic and political bonuses. You can also get a bonus for, where'd it go? Basically being like Great Britain and controlling the seas. If you have the most power in every single sea trade node in the world, you get massive bonuses to your navy and stuff like that. Nope, Bosnia's king died. Our royal marriage has ended because the guy we were married to is dead. So yeah, it basically just kind of goes on like this, and my favorite thing about it is just seeing how different the world ends up from what really happened. Like, I was talking with my old coworker about his EU3 game that he's been playing, and I think he said Scotland had like taken over most of England and was this massive like crusader empire that was trying to push south. France was fighting the Mongols, and England had been absorbed by Wales, or Ireland, I forget which. And there's another one he played where, or I don't remember if he played or he just found a screenshot, where Cyprus had taken over the entirety of Eastern Europe, and I think Ireland had taken over like all of Western Europe, and it was odd. But since I enjoy actually like kind of sort of pretending that this is really what's happening and like I'm really the king and this is how I would really act, it's fun for me to imagine like how weird would it be if Cyprus controlled all of Turkey, all of Greece in 2015 or whatever. What would happen if World War I started and instead of the Ottoman Empire, Byzantium was still around and was still strong? How would have things gone differently? I don't know if you can move save files between the different games from the same company that cover the different eras. I doubt it, because
I think they do have something where you can bring your Crusader Kings 2 end state into this game, I think.
That would be freaking amazing. Because the reason I originally cheated in this game was because I had a mod that pushed the start date from 1444 back to 51. And I had started a game playing as Byzantium in like 1200 AD and was doing really well, and then realized that the mod had a bug in it where I couldn't buy ideas. So I turned that mod off, and then starting at 1444, Byzantium's in a really bad state, and it just wasn't really fun. Like, you have like 3 seconds to react before the Ottomans just crush you. So I cheated just to add a little bit of territory like around here, just so I could at least kind of stand up to them, and went from there. And it's been going fairly well so far.
The real question is, if World War I would have ever happened in this situation.
Actually, that is a very good question. I don't know. They have a game. The game after this one is called Victoria, which covers like I think the Revolutionary era up until like right at the beginning of World War I think. And I think they have another one, I forget the name of it, that actually covers like World War I into World War II.
Oh, that's interesting. So you could actually have the goal of avoiding World War I.
Theoretically, yeah. So if Rob is right, and I have no reason to believe that he isn't, that you can like take. Right. Well, other than that, if you can take like save states, end game states into the next game in the series, then that'd be super interesting.
Maybe just the one that'll just the transition from those two.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I only started playing this a couple months ago, so I'm actually fairly new to this whole thing.
Yes, that's another hallmark of these Paradox Grand Strategy games.
Yeah.
That you can burn a lot of time just limiting the systems.
Yeah, the review I saw, one of the top reviews of the game, which I saw after I'd already purchased it, was that the learning curve is 20 to 30 hours.
Yeah.
Which I've passed. I think I know enough of what I'm doing to not die immediately, but I am playing with like all the easiest settings. The AI is kind of stupid and friendly. Like, I had my entire military over in Austria. Anybody, I'm having the hardest time scrolling. I'm gonna pause for a second. Stop moving. Okay. Okay, that's not it. It's just not wanting to scroll. Anyway, I'll just zoom out. I had my entire army in Central Europe. Anybody from the Middle East could have just walked in. There would have been nothing I could have done about it until my troops trudged all the way back. But they didn't, because they're on easy mode. And because I am easily frustrated, so that works well for me. But yeah, so this is, so I'm getting warnings. Oh, I'm about to have that revolt. The Mamluks don't consider me a rival anymore. Probably because they're falling apart. So another diplomatic thing is there's this rival system. Oh, another negative random event.
I love the button. I
Yeah.
am disappointed.
The best one is there's a random event that's just a comet has been seen, and there's 5 different options that range from like sacrifice the human heart to the comet, or it's the economy stupid, or I wish I lived in more enlightened times. And every single one of them has the exact same effect. Like you actually don't have any option. You just get to pick what flavor text you want. And
Nice.
from what I've heard, every single update they've made to this game, they add another one to that comet thing
nice.
that does like, no matter what happens, your stability drops by 1, but you can choose all different weird things. I usually chose it's the economy stupid, but nobody listened. Why did I open this window?
So is the military in this game, like, I guess the composition of your army, is that super interesting, or is it more like the bigger army is usually going to win?
The bigger army has a big advantage, but it actually, like, that little battle window is crazy complicated, and a lot of, oh, there's the revolt. So I can actually show you that. Hey, the arrow keys are working again, perfect. Okay, so they have 17,000 troops there and 17,000 troops there, conveniently splitting my army in 2. Perfect. That was kind of dumb on my part. First, I'm going to try to find... Please be unfriendly, Saul. There we go. The little stars here mean that there's a general associated with this army, and the more stars, the better he is. I'm going to unattach the general from that army, who doesn't need anything right now, and magically teleport him down here and attach him to... I'm just going to combine these armies. Attach him to this army. So the general... there's different phases in combat. There's a fire phase, which is just people shooting each other from distance. Shock, which is like melee combat. Actually, I think it just alternates between those two. And each general will give bonus points to your dice rolls for those different phases of battle. So like, this general gives me +3 to the fire phase, +3 to shock phase. He has 4 points of maneuver, which give him kind of more obscure bonuses, like he doesn't get penalized for river crossings as much. He can resupply troops faster, and 1 point towards sieges. So generals make a big difference. But the composition of your army does matter, because in those battles it's actually keeping track of every individual regiment. Like you can see this, each regiment starts with 1,000 people in it, but they will all take damage individually. People will die individually. Their morale is affected by regiment. Things like the artillery being in the back row can fire on enemy infantry without taking any damage itself, and do really horrendous morale damage. And cavalry will actually usually spread to the wings and try to defend the infantry and the cannons. So it does.
You're not really making those decisions. You're just.
I am making the decision at the point of I assign the units. Like this particular stack of military units had 14,000 infantry, 1,000 cavalry, 5,000 artillery. That part I decide. I don't really decide anything else. Once this battle's started, the only thing I can do is add more troops to it. So if I was worried that my morale was going to break, I could add some fresh troops. And here's the after battle screen where you can see how many people actually died. Whether or not I gained prestige, I didn't, because it's revolt. In the case of revolts, usually if you win one battle, the revolt just disintegrates, which is helpful. But they still did like 3,000 casualties against me, which kind of sucks. So then disperse the first one, move on to the second one. So I think to actually answer your question, it does make a difference how you organize your army. To some extent, it's a nuanced enough difference that you don't have to like panic about it. Generally, you want lots and lots of infantry because they take the brunt of everything and they cover the other 2 units. I hate this pop-up event because I get it like every 3 months, and it basically just costs me a bunch of points for something I can't control. Because apparently my son is an idiot, and he's on trial for corruption and bribery again. But yeah, if you have enough troops, usually the bigger factor than the actual troop arrangement, as far as I can tell, is terrain enhanced, anything that directly affects the dice rolls, because this is really what matters here. So like the fact that I'm fighting in the woods gives me a -1 penalty because I attacked. I moved into their territory. So that actually makes a really big difference. The generals make a really big difference. Like I said, the morale at this point in the game usually breaks before the actual troops all die, so the fact that I have morale bonuses, basically I start with a larger morale health bar than the enemy does, which is really good. And for each different, I could show you some more detail. They actually put a lot of detail into the individual units. So right now I'm using defensive Eastern Musketeers, and it shows you how many points they have in each category between offensive fire phase, defensive fire phase, offensive shock, defensive shock, offense to morale, defense to morale, and this is what tech level you unlock it at. So there's a ton of math and a ton of details in there. You don't have to mess with it too much. I try to be semi-smart with it, but really my personality is to play defensively, so given these two options at tech level 12, I chose mostly defensive. You can mostly just look at how many pips they have and say, well, obviously the militia is better than the Bardiche infantry because they have way more points over here. Naval units are kind of similar, with the exception of the light ships have a special role of boosting trade power and cogs, and they're like our transport ships. But it keeps track of things as obscure as army tradition, which lets you hire better generals and gives you bonuses in combat. Yeah, I won. And they only did 3,300 casualties. Woo. Oh, so this was the truce from that war with the Holy Roman Empire just expired. So if I wanted to, I could declare war on them again without any significant penalties, but I'm not really interested. But it keeps track of just your general morale, and the force limit is basically how many standing troops you can have at any one time before you outpace your... the coring finished, which means... stop. Oh, this is actually a good one. Lose 50 ducats, but I gain a +10 defense bonus basically forever. The problem is I keep getting that same one and it doesn't stack, so I'm just losing 50 ducats for no reason. Right, so Ferrara is now officially part of our country, so it has no more penalties from overexerting myself.
A perfectly defensible position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously I can really easy get way over here. And I had Venice already, so I can...
Just a little better, okay.
Yeah, but I don't think... It doesn't look like there's a land bridge between these two. I think I would have to go through... This is still the country of Venice. I control the island, but they control this little land bridge. So I would have to walk through other countries to get... Yeah, it's not great. Which is why I'm just leaving a huge stack of troops here, because if something goes wrong, I can't reinforce that. Oh, actually, they're letting me walk through. Milan doesn't hate me.
So does this game tend to... You can kind of work at a super high level initially, and a lot of the processes are automated, and then as you get more comfortable, you can dive into more detail?
Kind of, yeah. Like, honestly, the biggest learning curves for me was like, a lot of it is fairly intuitive. Like, these menus look really complicated, but the tooltips are super, super helpful. You just hover over almost anything, it'll show you every single variable that goes into whatever that number is, where it comes from, what to do about it. The most complicated things were getting the hang of the battle system, realizing that numbers aren't everything. Because when I first started playing, I would send like 20,000 troops against 6,000 and consistently lose because I was just proceeding a stupid way. Like, I was crossing rivers, I was fighting without a general when they had a general, I had like all infantry and they had cavalry and artillery to support them. And kind of getting the hang of the trade nodes took a while. Fighting economically with the other countries for influence over these nodes, and then having your small number of merchants actually directly acting on the nodes. So like, in this node, what's happening is I control 74% of it, which will kind of passively nudge it towards my territory in Constantinople. But to encourage that, I have a merchant permanently stationed here whose sole job is to direct the trade out of the Black Sea into Constantinople, where I can collect it at a higher rate. So to whatever degree I have power in this node is how effective he is at doing that. And since I have a pretty high degree of power, there's very little money that's going anywhere else, and there's very little money staying there. The vast majority of it is actually getting sucked out into my territory.
Played lots of games like this, or is this?
Actually, no. I've played the Civilization series, and I've played this, and that's basically it. If I had more money and more time, I would love to get Crusader Kings 2. I would love to get a lot of the other games. Now that I've played EU4, I really want to try a bunch of other Paradox games. But
those tend to go on Steam sales pretty cheap too.
They do. So when I first heard about this game, I was looking for EU3, which my friend recommended, and EU4 was on sale that very day for like 75-80% off. So I got it for like 12 or $14, but it's usually like 30 to 40 to 50 because there's a lot here.
Yeah, it's a big game. I find it intimidating. I've never played a game like this.
It definitely is. So here, let me show you.
Actually, I started up EU3 once, and then I had my choice of countries, and I lived in them for a long time, and I gave up.
I almost did that.
Any country. It's kind of
Right.
crazy thing.
Yeah, you can literally. So this is what happens if you go back to the main menu. I never showed you the ledger or anything. Oh, I have the second largest army. I'm falling behind. It must have been somebody I wasn't even. I bet the Chinese, because I have the biggest army of anybody I had encountered yet. I also have a mod that just, instead of the normal loading screens, it just has a bunch of like Renaissance paintings that it puts in and gives you little tooltips. But I wanted to briefly show you. So you can literally pick any individual day. You can pick the individual year, the individual day of the year that you want to start your game. Though it starts you with a list of like common major historical events. You could start in the 7 Years' War. You could start during the French Revolution.
Cool.
And you click on it, and it'll show you at the bottom here. Here's some countries that are interesting to play as during this period. It gives you a brief summary of history.
So it guides you.
This is huge. I've heard people say that the ultimate goal of the game is to make the font of your name as big as possible. Which Russia is definitely covering more ground, but the King Chinese is actually, I think that's a bigger font.
It's a nice font.
So I'm not really sure who's winning there. And it's really sad when you have a funny, like, horseshoe-shaped nation and your name just kind of gets arced in a weird, ugly way. In my save file, I only had recently I had controlled Crimea and controlled the Dardanelles for a long time, but I didn't have a land bridge between them, so I had this kind of funky-looking curved name over here, and this other weird-looking curved name going down here, and I finally stole some provinces from Lithuania. Yeah, I'm just going to jump in real quick here because I didn't show you the ledger, which is nothing. But you can, when you're picking countries, you can see all sorts of information about them, from what technology level they are, which gives you like penalties to your tech growth, religion, to what current ruler they have and the points he has, what their technology levels are. Each country has individual national ideas that give them passive modifiers on things. You can look at how many territories they have, how their economy is doing, how their army's doing, what kind of political state they're in. So I'm just going to show you the magical ledger real quick. We'll just jump into Persia. See what's happening in Persia during the French Revolution.
I played a lot of Hearts of Iron, the World War II variant of this game.
Okay.
And that's a lot more focused because it's only like
Yeah, much smaller time span.
9 years, I think. He's starting like 36, and it's just kind of like, okay, gear up for the war because it's coming.
Right.
Respond to it.
You say it's a better first foray?
I think so. Like if you just want to kind of explore more, this is probably better. But if you want something that has a little more of a goal towards it,
Yeah.
I think Hearts of Iron maybe a
Hearts
little
of
more.
Iron.
I mean, depending on the historical start, like if I started as Austria at this time in history when the French Revolution is going, you kind of have an implied mission of survive the Napoleonic Wars that are going to be coming in the next decade or two. What I wanted to show you was the other interesting thing is this ledger that keeps track of basically every number in the game. You can see this is every country that your country is aware of. You can sort, like, this is just a basic overview, and it has like 40 pages of score comparison, technology levels, religions, province overviews. And then the really useful stuff is you can look at the military and just kind of see who has the biggest military. Before you go to war with somebody, you can compare your military to theirs, how many standing troops they have, their manpower is basically how many reserves do they have that they could call upon, how many mercenaries they have, what have you, what kind of ships they have. So you just have this massive wealth of information that I've honestly only ever looked at like 3 or 4 pages of this. If you want to dig deeper, like Rob was saying, you can kind of glide through. Once you get the basic mechanics of fighting and the basic mechanics of trade down, you can kind of let it coast to some degree, but if you want to get granular, there's a lot to get granular with, between organizing your troops and moving them the right way and just trying to kind of like game the mathematics of the system and doing the same thing with trade. Like, there are definitely certain trade nodes that just based on history are way better than the others. Like Constantinople is an amazing one. The Gulf of Aden is an amazing one because all the trade from India, or almost all of it, comes through here. Actually, all of it does. Everything coming from India and the Far East that goes west at all goes through the Gulf of Aden at some point. And there's a whole other part of the game that I haven't even tried yet, where you can actually colonize the New World, run into nations that already existed there,
Wow.
form colonial nations that are like allied with you and like subservient to you, but they are technically separate nations. So yeah, during this point, Spain still controlled basically everything. I've really only kind of gotten to the tip of the iceberg after playing for way too many hours so far. There's a lot here. So yeah. But you got things like, shut up. You can hire advisors that give you bonuses, cost you money per month, and also give you an increase to your monarch points every month. You can change what type of government you are. You actually have living rulers who will eventually die. You have heirs. Or you might not have heirs, in which case you can get regency governments and your stability will drop and other nations might take advantage of you. You can get huge breakdowns of the trade, your economy, dealing with inflation, dealing with maintenance of different things. I haven't run into inflation too much yet, thankfully. Let's see, Shia Muslims have this piety slider instead of the like church influence slider that I had, that gives them all sorts of different bonuses, and you will have random events. Okay, yeah, you have national decisions you can make that'll influence that piety slider, or you can get random events that'll influence the piety slider and give you all sorts of passive penalties or bonuses depending on what's going on. And there's also just a lot of thought in like juggling the other nations' opinions of you. If you get too aggressive, other nations will actually gather together in coalitions to wipe you out of existence. So you have to kind of be careful of that. You can also just severely undermine your own stability by breaking treaties and generally being not nice. So I would say it's on the same continuum that Dwarf Fortress is. It's not quite as insanely mechanical and totally lacking in user interface as Dwarf Fortress is, but it's, I think, closer to that than other things on the spectrum. There is a lot that goes on. Like, it keeps track of individual cities within, like, some of these provinces have cities, it'll keep track of, some of them don't.
It is really amazing how far you can scroll in and see really micro details.
Yeah, they do a good job. And
it's cool.
I was watching somebody play this online as Finland, and they were laughing, or Sweden rather. They were constructing a building here, and it had a little animation of like a crane, but because of the location, the animation was showing it pick up a box and just drop it into the into the water and just do that over and over again until the building was built. Yeah, there's so much here that I don't actually know what to describe next. But you can
like you can play this so many times, so many different experiences.
Exactly. Yeah, it's entirely different every time you play. Even for whatever reason, I just really wanted to play Byzantium. I don't know why it struck me as super interesting.
I mean, it is, but not to the exclusion of so many other things. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what's so cool about it.
But I've basically only played Byzantium so far at different points in history. Once I got rid of that mod that wasn't working. But yeah, I'd be very curious to see like how totally different the game would be if I started in Western Europe instead of over here.
Yeah.
Because like one of the things I'm struggling with is I have a different technology level than the Western Europeans have. Because I'm Eastern European, I get a 20% penalty on all technology purchases. So I actually have you can Westernize by being close to a Western nation, and basically like your country goes into turmoil for a long time and becomes really, really unstable, but if you survive it, you will magically become Western technology group. But in order to start that process, you have to already have fallen significantly behind, which I've been kind of like juggling whether I'm willing to risk dropping 9 full technology levels behind some Western nation that I border. It's hard to find one that I border that I can do that with. And starting off that process. But so here's the save file I started with. If I wanted to, just for fun, let's see what happens if I switch sides, play as Austria, and just disband my whole military. I don't even know where I have troops.
That's right, your save game does not dictate what country you play.
Exactly.
It dictates the world state.
So if I wanted to, I could call off I could sue for peace. I could start wars elsewhere. I could do all sorts of crazy things. So let's see what happens if I just offer to give Byzantium. Oh, see, when the computer's controlling Byzantium, they don't want anything except for that one territory. But I could do all sorts of I could concede defeat, and actually they're not happy with that. They don't want it.
They hate you too much.
I'm offering them things they're not actively interested in. Like, they don't care if I release Bavaria, or I give Bavaria military access, or if I release Ansbach as a sovereign state. Byzantium doesn't give a rip. Yeah, where are my troops? Okay. Is that? No, that's Alsace troops. Where are Austrian troops? Are there any left? Oh wait, this looks Austria. There we go. Disband. And disband. So I really wanted to be cheeky. I could just disband everything. I could like take out a ton of loans and just bankrupt them for no reason. Yay.
So it doesn't stop you.
No, you can do basically whatever you want. Inflation at 9.82%. That sounds pretty bad. And yeah, then if I wanted to, I could save again, jump back into Byzantium, and just kind of see what happens. Or I could play as France, start a war with Castile, and just run with it, and then let it run and see what happens. So there's a lot of weird, interesting things I can play around with that I just haven't even tried yet. It keeps track of different cultures per province, and if the province is not the same culture as your country's culture, it gets penalties and increases, unrest and things like that. You can build all sorts of buildings that'll give you different passive modifiers and effects. There's a frick ton of stuff we should do.
Oh, we are officially out of time.
Oh, oops. My bad.
Oh, that's fine.
That is a brief overview of EU4.
So yeah, that is very cool. I am now open to trying a game like this in a way that I have never been before. I'm a pretty strict button masher, but this does look pretty cool.
This game does not allow button mashing. But
no, that's okay. I can survive without mashing the buttons.
Yeah. But it's not. If you put the settings on easy, the game is not so hard. Like, You can basically make the game easier or harder by choosing what country you start as. Starting as Byzantium is freaking hard, and that's why I cheated. If you start as Castile in 1444, it's like right before you're about to go to the New World. Nobody really bothers with you because you're on the edge of Europe.
Right.
It's a pretty easy place to start. Same with the Ottoman Empire is actually an easy starting position. So you can, there's so much customization that you can make the game mostly as easy or hard as you want it to be.
It's very cool.
There's actually an achievement which is supposedly barely possible at all without cheating, where you start as this tiny one province nation off the coast of Japan and have to take over the whole planet.
Huh. Nice.
And apparently, like, when the game starts, everybody hates them, on top of just things being generically difficult as a tiny little one province. They're like over here
Who are
somewhere.
these poor people?
They had there it is, Ryukyu.
Oh.
This little island chain. And they start with a terrible leader. They are like many technology levels behind. Or I guess no, you started fairly low, but they're several technology levels behind. They have, let's see, 60% penalty technology growth, no economy, no nothing. All the local people hate them. If you still manage to take over the world, it gives you massive bonuses for it. But it's got the whole thing.
All right, cool.
So yeah, that's the game.
All right, well, thanks. And thanks for everyone who stopped by. It's been fun. And make sure you follow our channel. We do this every week. And we'll be back next week with I don't know what, but I'll tell you sometime.
Sounds good.
I'm going to stop things. Okay, bye, folks.
Happy design. I'm looking at that screen and waving at the camera.
Yeah, it's...